Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Star Trek Online's walkthrough of Frozen. Now, this episode today is going to take us to the Dara system located in the Malaysia sector of the Psi Valorum sector block. And what we're going to do here is find out something about the Riemann resistance movement. You'll also notice that I have two friends with me today. These are members from my fleet, and they'll be helping us out with the mission walkthrough. After you break their satellite, you have to go hide in the micro nebula for their scout to come out and take a look at it.
After that happens, you see the Riemann scout come in to scan the area and see what's wrong with their satellite.
Proving that vandalism solves everything, the Riemann scout enters the system and goes to scan their satellite.
Ooh, we have a sensor lock. We'll be able to track it if it goes to warp now. It's always a good thing, in case they try to get away. Oh, but there's a large buildup. Oh my gosh, it's a Romulan warbird. They're opening fire. So they try to get out of there. Their engines get damaged, so do their weapons, so they can't fire back. But they end up cloaking and trying to get away. And we're going to get into the fray now. Get out of this micro nebula. Start heading towards the battle. You can see my fleet mates are already ensconced in the battle there. So we're going to go up against this Daedrix battleship, take it out pretty quickly, pop my gravity well right off the bat. By the way, I'm playing as a science officer on this one, because I have the characters for it. Forgot to match to my squad leader's level, because they're a little lower than me right now. So, we dispatched that enemy, and now we have to follow the Riemann scout. So, here we go. We're going to follow the Riemann scout. Now, this is unnecessarily long. I understand that they're adding in new things to the game at this point when they were making this episode. Just going from one end of the map to the other, pretty much. If you look at your map, you can see the circled area where he'll end up. And there's also a nav buoy there, blinking every so often, so you know where you're going.
At this point, I just want to give a quick shout out to Theseus. He's on a lower level science craft right now. And also Bo Chung, who's in the Excelsior refit. Just wanted to thank them for playing the mission with me. And also, this was the first mission I recorded in this story arc, so I apologize for the audio inconsistencies.
For some reason I'm in the lead. Not a good idea for a science vessel, but at least I still have my oh shit button. And right here you can see my build. I have two dual plasma on the front, transphasic or torpedo launchers, front and back, and also some plasma turret on the back. So I get as much forward-facing DPS as possible. Some escorts came in. We're going to dispatch these pretty quickly. Now, with the transphasics on the front, you can still use torpedo spread and whatnot, which is nice, especially now that they've revamped all of the torpedo skills, especially spread. Now, one thing I'm doing here is I'm going backwards. You don't see a lot of people go backwards in a fight. PvE, more less than PvP. This is mainly just to keep them in my sights. I do most of my damage to the front, especially with those dual plasma beams. I think they only have a 90-degree radius in front of you. So you want to try to keep them within that to get the most amount of damage. And I'm also trolling around with plasma, mainly because I get the extra hull DPS whenever you can pop through their shields. You know, it just does straight hull damage. So that increases your DPS as well. So now we've followed the Riemann scout to this planet, and we beam down to it, kind of an ice cavern, and there are dogs. Best description of them. So we're going to take care of them. They're not that big of an issue, even when you're playing without other people. They don't do a lot of damage. One downside, of course, is that, you know, they're all melee. So if you have energy harnesses and whatnot as your armor, so if you have energy spec armor, you'll have a harder time, but it's still relatively easy. Look.
Now you're about to see me use the Ophidian Cane. This is a reward that you get for completing the Davidian series finale, Night of the Comet, before the launch of Season 3. It's a really cool thing that you can use to just stop enemies for what they're doing and suck a little bit of health out of them.
We'll get this guy before he even gets near us, get his friend before he gets near me, and the third guy before he can even land a hit on any of our teammates. Searching for this Riemann base inside this planet, this ice planet, and we come across a gate. so we have to scan the gate. After you scan the gate, you go and activate the mining laser, which is so handily left behind. And it fails. So something's broken. So now you have to scan it, which is what my fleet mate's doing around the other end. And now you have 3 options, depending on what class you are. Now I'm a science officer, so the science objective here is to gather crystals. Now right there, that item I went right to, that's one of the engineer things. I think you have to activate 3 of those. But for me, I have to gather 3 sets of crystals. One of them's there. Then you go back a little bit, grab the other crystal, get back into that main hallway, go down a little bit more, and now my fleet mate's going to grab the last one. Now what you have to do is you come into this room, which is that first room on the left if you're coming from the laser, back to where you beamed in. You'll have to go to those pads, set the crystals down, and refine them. Now after you refine them, you go to the mining laser, set it up, it's ready to go. Gonna head, my other fleet mate there is gonna activate the laser at the console on the other side. And it bursts through the door. Now that we've got our entrance, we figure let's press on. And oh my gosh, it's a Riemann base. And the Riemanns, they don't look too aggressive. They don't look like we're much of a problem right now. So don't have to fight any of these guys, which would be pretty bad, considering there's a lot of them. Yeah, I would just hate to have to go through all this, having to kill all these people. Just for the heck of it, I decided to question one of them, since they all have those information icons over them. It is useless information, to spare you the long story. So, now we finally made it to the far reaches of this base, and went to the back room, where there is a Riemann talking to his advisors, and we walk in, and he's like, "Oh hey, welcome to my base. You've discovered it, at long last."
In case you haven't put it together yet, this is Obasek, the man you met in the first mission, right at the Thalaron reactor.
So one question remains, are you going to be our friend or our enemy? And then his bodyguards get close to you, and now you have the option of going up to him and talking to him. So you go in and talk to him, and you can either say, "Hey, we'll help you," or "We're going to arrest you and try to take you out." Either way, kind of comes with the same result.
Which is some witty dialogue exchanged between you and Obasek, resulting in you helping him.
His advisor says that the Romulans are beaming down and trying to take their new base here. So he says, "Alright, well, since we got these new allies, which is what I chose to help them, I think it's the best option. Always gotta root for the underdog. Those Riemanns, they had it so bad in the mines. If you ever saw Nemesis, that movie's pretty much explains their whole relation with the Romulans. After the fighting starts, you try to exit the room, and bam, there's a group. So you have to dispatch this group. This is the second toughest group, I'd have to say. There's just a lot of them, and there's some medics in there that, if you don't target them first, they end up healing all of the enemies that you tried to kill. So my advice is always go for the medics first, and then, hit up all the lower guys, and then work your way to the biggest commander, or whoever's on the field at the moment. We went left. If you went right, it would be the same story. There'd be a group over there. Once you come around to the other side of the room that you encountered those Riemanns at, you're going to start fighting the hardest group normally. Now these guys, they're just powerful. There's usually a captain or a corporal there, but this time we had good allies, and the NPCs were working well.
To help us get our loot, which I would highly suggest the Romulan Disruptor Split Beam Rifle at Mark 11 or Vice Admiral level. You can get that up to 92 DPS, and it's a good weapon that you can use into the next series.
And that's pretty much the mission. That is Frozen. So you have gotten the base secured for the moment while they all evacuated.
All that's left to do now is select your loot, which could be the Disruptor Wide Beam Pistol or the Disruptor Split Beam Rifle. Again, I suggest the rifle. Thank you for watching this walkthrough of Frozen. Stay tuned for next week's episode, Coliseum.